Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Dungeons and Dopamine.
Ta-da! Hello, and welcome to Dungeons and Dopamine. I'm Bree.
I'm Jess.
And this is episode 88.
Yay! That's divisible by 11.
It sure is.
I thought about counting down from 11 when we started the episode. So that I would just be pointing at you for 11 seconds. But I thought it would probably make it so that we couldn't start the episode.
It would just be laughs.
Which has happened before.
It's true.
So.
It's true. It would not be the first time that the episode just starts with us giggling.
Or the last, I'm sure of it. Something cool that'll actually be coming soon by the time this episode airs, because this is the week before Valentine's Day.
It is.
We're going to Comic-Con again.
Yes, we are.
Or, I guess, Muscicon.
Muscicon.
I would love to go to Comic-Con. What's the... San Francisco? Isn't that like the... Or San... I can't remember.
Diego?
San something.
San Diego, I think, is the original.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I would also go to New York. New York this year had Viva. I would have
right.
sold my arm to go.
We should at least try to make it to like Chicago.
That would be amazing.
Something relatively big. One
I could
of these
just dress
years.
in my Renfest outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I could, yeah, we should do this.
I'm gonna have to like stalk the author of Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm pretty sure he ends up at some
At some
cons,
That'd
and
be
I
really
would
fun.
die.
I would love for the guys to come to Muscicon, but I don't think we can afford them as Muskegon as a whole.
Maybe in a few years. We'll
We'd
talk
have to
to
get
P.
them like flights from New Zealand, accommodations. They could stay here at my house.
I mean, that saves us so much money right there.
At least 3 of them, and more if they bring the rest of their crew.
We have a camper. They can stay in our camper.
Perfect.
And maybe I'm sure we can figure out the basement. It'll be fine.
This is gonna be wonderful. You guys are gonna love it.
Yeah. They're
sure
totally
they're
going to be in. Obviously. What else could they be doing but listening to our podcast?
Oh, if we had gone to New York by some like wild, amazing chance to Comic-Con in New York, we would have seen them, and we would have seen, which I know you really don't care, but I absolutely 100% could have seen you marrying this guy. Sorry, Zach. I know. But Jacksepticeye?
Oh, yes. Yes, we've discussed that.
Yeah. And obviously Brandon would have been like the perfect match for you, but not like Zach is bad. But if we were choosing from the famous men in our lives...
But if we were choosing new husbands, and if we were going with my actual type instead of who I married.
Your former type. Oh, I punched the microphone.
Stop
Your
doing that.
former type.
True.
Don't let Zach listen to this episode. I'm just setting up for him to be ticked at me.
Remember the episode where Jessica kept trying to marry you to other people? Seemed a little rude.
People who, also, both of them, Jacksepticeye isn't married.
Oh, well.
But he's a very serious long-term relationship.
And horrendously famous and nowhere near here.
Right. He also, by the way, this is totally random fact, and I'll stop trying to marry you off to other people. He was diagnosed as autistic recently, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's kind of cool because I don't feel like there's enough representation of that out in the world, and people misunderstand it so badly.
Agreed.
Even I, until more recently, I mean, like maybe the last 15 years, but I thought of someone who is autistic as someone who couldn't function very well, or
it was always portrayed as either like Rain Man style autism, where they were like or Sheldon Cooper style, where they were so smart we'd never be able to talk to them anyway, or they were basically handicapped, unable to function or unable to.
And there's so much more to the full spectrum of autism that I think it's really cool that someone can come out and say, look, I just got diagnosed this way. We joke because we're pretty sure Ryan has autism. So in our house, we call it the tism. And when he does something that I think is because of his autism, I'm like, oh, that was the tism.
Yep.
And I mean, we kind of joke about it, but it can be really tough, and it can be really tough for him to like relate to people and understand things. And
it's so affirming nowadays to hear these things or see these things. Like, of course, it's been huge on TikTok because that's the best place for normal people to get their voices heard.
Right.
And finding out like all these things that I thought were issues that only I had are just like normal ADHD things or normal autism things. And I'm like, oh.
I remember when you were younger, you told me I think it's count letters, right? Mm-hmm. With your teeth.
Yes.
That is so 100% related to at least one of those, both of them, really.
It's stimming. And it was never caught because I mask so well.
Oh, absolutely.
That my stimming is something I do inside my mouth that nobody else can see.
Exactly.
I still do that, by the way.
I figured, why break it? It works for you, right? So, I mean, I agree. It's totally amazing to have that happen. And he didn't come out and like, I'm autistic. Oh my gosh, this is awful.
It's life-changing.
Yeah, what am I going to do? What's going to happen to me? He's really loved by people. And even like 15 years ago, Jacksepticeye was too much for me. Maybe not for 15 years ago me, but he did a lot of yelling and just like screeching and almost performing, I think, before he kind of settled into being himself. And his autism probably propelled him to that because he gave himself that permission to be different.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just thought it was cool. That was totally random. I wasn't planning on talking about that at all. I didn't have any plans.
I like it when our topics come out of random.
But yeah, I think that's super cool. I hope that more people can express that and share without it being stigmatized.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to have answers for things. Like understanding that. Even like my sensory issues with clothes.
Yes.
All these issues I've had all of my life, and it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I was like, oh, I don't like squeezy arms. So, like, I don't like any sleeves that are tight.
Right.
And in, like, 15 years ago, I would have just worn the shirts and been uncomfortable all day. And maybe probably cranky about it. And I get home from work and I'm, like, angry and throwing a fit. And I'm like, what's going on? Oh, I'm uncomfortable because my clothes are squeezy.
Or you get overstimulated and you start lashing out at the people around you because the TV's too loud and the blender is running and the microwave is running and that's laundry's
so going and I've been at work all day where people were calling me all day, and now I'm at home and I have a husband and a kid that want my attention and there's all these noises. Just give me 15 minutes.
Yes, and it's so nice to understand that why it's happening and how from there how you can take care of it. Like, okay, this is overstimulating. I need to walk into that room. I need to turn off the light and I need to breathe for just a few seconds. When the microwave's off, I'll come back out and I can work on this.
Or even just having the knowledge, like, oh, I'm overstimulated right now. That's why I'm being cranky.
Yes.
Is sometimes enough to be like, hey, family, I am so sorry I was being rude to you. I was overstimulated, but now I'm aware of it, so I can control myself.
I can fix this. Oh, I know. It's crazy. And yeah, I love it. I hope that people keep coming out like this. Like the Viva women. Excuse me. The Viva women. They did a show, ADHD and Me, about late life diagnosis ADHD in women, and one of them plays ADHD. She is the ADHD for the other person.
Oh boy.
It's very Viva, so it's funny and ridiculous, but it shows so much what it's like to have. What would you say, like an episode of just being overstimulated or unable to focus because the microwave's running?
Because my brain just doesn't, okay?
Or needing to take care of every task because every task is a priority to me because I can't regulate that.
I don't know what's actually important.
Everything.
It all has to be done right now, and I can't, so none of it will be done at all.
Exactly. Or until we're at the point where it's a problem, then I'm going to get it all done really well, but be stressed about it the whole time.
My favorite TikTok I've seen recently is something along the lines of, I was running late today, and I left my house about 5 minutes later than I usually do, and I still got to work on time. And this is the worst day of my life because that is not information my brain needed to know. Because now my brain will be like, oh, we got 5 more minutes. We don't have to leave yet.
We can do other things.
We could start a load of laundry.
Your time and my time blindness are so different. I am so the complete opposite of that. If I learned that I could leave 5 minutes later for work, I would still leave. I would give myself an extra 5 minutes. Why do you leave for your 9 o'clock shift at 7:45? I just have to make sure I'm on time. You work at home. I have to make sure I'm on time.
You go out to your car 15 minutes before you're supposed to start work. Like, I only know how to start work if I spend 15 minutes in my car ahead of time, psyching myself up for
and then
it.
I stress myself out that I'm going to be late.
I mean, I don't wish that that's how my ADHD worked, like, because I don't want that overwhelming anxiety.
Right.
But at the same time, like, it would be nice to stop disappointing people by showing up 5 to 30 minutes late for literally everything I do.
Right? Yeah. It's a double-edged sword. I've gone places and sat and waited for 15 minutes because I was there 15 minutes too early.
Mm-hmm. And I would do that. And I would be in my car 15 minutes before I was supposed to go in, and then I would get distracted and end up 15 minutes late because I started an audiobook or decided to make a phone call that would only take 15 minutes, but it took 30.
An email.
Yeah.
It's not going to take me any, oh, shoot.
But then I got distracted by Facebook Reels, and now it's been an hour, and I'm out of gas.
Yeah. Yeah. ADHD is dumb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So teach me.
I'm going to teach you. So this week, I'm continuing on with my We Don't Deserve Dogs episodes in honor of Abigail, who we lost last week. And this week, I'm going to talk about helper dogs / working dogs / service dogs. So service dogs, I feel like have kind of been on the radar more in the last decade than they ever were when we were kids. When we were kids, you might have heard of like a seeing eye dog for somebody that was blind, but I don't think I ever saw any other type of service dog.
Yeah, no.
I do want to just briefly touch on the difference between a service dog and like an emotional support animal, which is partially why service dogs are so much more in the news or such a bigger buzzword now. Emotional support animals are kind of a new thing that we are seeing. I don't know if it's worldwide, but definitely in the United States. And I don't want to get into the details or the drama about emotional support animals or, the legalities of it. But to be considered a service dog, or a service animal, because it's not just dogs anymore. These are animals that have been given extensive training to be able to complete tasks for their owner. So service dogs are actually completing tasks, whereas emotional support animals are more, this is my emotional support animal that I need with me because it provides comfort and it, helps me with my anxiety, but they're not trained to complete tasks. A service dog, and another big difference, service dogs can usually take at least 2 years of training, which starts like immediately when they're a puppy. When they're weaned from their moms, the training is started almost immediately and can be very rigorous and very intensive.
And they can fail.
Yes,
Your
yes,
dog
they
can go through, your dog, the dog can go through training and then fail out.
Yes. So, according to the Americans with Disabilities Act, service dogs are specially trained to perform specific tasks for people with disabilities. These disabilities can be physical, sensory, psychiatric, intellectual, or mental. And service dogs have full public access rights, which means they can go places where other animals aren't allowed. This can be restaurants, stores, apartment buildings, or houses that don't typically allow animals have to legally allow service animals. They do not have to legally allow emotional support animals, which is a whole different category. So, most of the information that I'm going to talk about is from the United Disability Services website, and then there's a couple other little ones that were just some side note information. I talked a little bit last week about how dogs have an incredible sense of smell that can smell not just like normal scents like humans do, but also pheromones, heat changes, medical issues. And this is why dogs are so useful as service animals. It really has a lot to do with this incredible sense of smell.
It makes me want to read one of the Chicken Soup for Your Soul books, because they always had the animal ones, and I just wept the whole time I read through them.
There is apparently a show. It was made in the UK, and it says it aired from 2000 to 2009, so there must have been a couple seasons of it. And it's called Dogs with Jobs.
Oh, I've seen it.
Each episode just touches on a dog that has a job that provides a service and all of the cute, amazing things they do. So I'm going to talk about different types of service dogs. And again, this is all specifically service dogs. So there are other types of helper dogs and worker dogs that I'll get into, but these are service dogs. Obviously, starting with guide dogs, which would be formerly known as seeing eye dogs. So these obviously still exist. These are dogs that are trained to help blind and low vision individuals navigate the world. They always have the service dog vest. Sometimes they'll have a harness with a handle that the owner can hold on to. And the interesting part about these specific dogs and some of these other ones in here are these dogs are trained with selective disobedience. So they can make their own choices based on the assessment of the situation. So if their owner tells them to cross a street, the dog can disobey if it sees that there is traffic coming.
Which is kind of amazing that a dog could make that discernment.
And that you can train a dog. Like, you should obey your owner all the time unless your owner is going to get hurt. Then don't do it.
Like, a seeing eye deer would just lead you out and then stop in mid-traffic.
Right. Or, like, run away from you.
It's gone.
There are also hearing dogs. So these are dogs that are trained to be partners for deaf or hard of hearing individuals, and they are actually trained to respond to noises or cue their owner about the noises. So it could be smoke alarms, the phone ringing, a door knock, or a doorbell. Could even be like alarm clocks or just the owner's name. So the dog can alert the owner if their name is being said. There are also allergy detection dogs that can be trained to sniff out any like food allergens or even environmental allergens that might be in place to be able to protect their human. And these dogs will often have pockets on their service dog vest that can hold like an EpiPen or allergy medication, as well as medical treatment information. And you usually see these types of dogs paired with children. So it'd be a great dog for like a child with a severe peanut allergy that you want to send to school. You can get a service dog that is trained to detect peanuts.
They have gluten even.
Yes, gluten, peanuts, all kinds of crazy stuff. There are also autism service dogs. So this is kind of new, and this is again a type of service dog that is often paired with children. And this is because the presence of a dog can often be calming to someone with autism, but it can also actually help in social situations because it can be a conversation starter or even just provide that source of comfort and kind of give the person the confidence to, I always have my buddy right here to support me, so I have more confidence to act in these situations. These dogs can also be trained to interrupt or distract from harmful behavior. So if the person is acting out or doing something that might harm themselves, the dog can be trained to either interrupt that behavior or alert someone else that behavior is happening. They can also be trained to keep children from running away or track the child once it does elope from wherever it's supposed to be. And again, their service vests may be used to carry like identification or contact information as well as medical information about their human. My favorite are the medical alert dogs, and this is just astounding to me how many things that dogs can be attuned to that humans have no idea it's even going on. So dogs can now be trained to alert their owners to impending medical issues. They can be trained to sense or smell changes in blood sugar, whether it's too high or too low, blood pressure, heart rate, seizures, fainting, all kinds of things. So even like people with POTS that have a lot of issues with fainting, their service dogs can be trained to sense that either the blood pressure dropping that is going to cause the issue, or the heart rate going up, or the anxiety that goes with all of that. And I've seen a TikTok video where the dog like warns their owner that, you know, hey, your body's doing those things it does that you're going to pass out, helps the owner actually get to the ground, so sit down before they pass out, and then can retrieve the medications that they need to make themselves feel better.
I've also seen epileptic people, they get the same thing. They'll lay down on the ground. This one particular woman was in a store, and the store worker was being a horrible person about the service dog, and it sent her into an epileptic fit. But the dog warned her. She laid down. The dog actually laid on her chest, which I thought was amazing. Made me want to cry, which I know he's trained to do, but it's still incredible.
Yeah, so that is actually a deep pressure stimulation that can help people with seizures either avoid the seizure or come out of the seizure faster. So they're trained to actually physically lay on their owner to help whatever body function it causes that pressure to change it.
I'm going to pretend that's why my dogs sit on my lap.
Yes, they're just keeping you from having seizures. They are also, all of these medical service dogs are usually also trained to alert someone or call for medical attention. They might be trained to like press a life alert button, or they might have some sort of technology that they're actually able to dial 911 when these episodes are happening. And again, they usually wear service vests with pockets so that there are access to medications or the medical information of the owner, so that if they're out and about and the owner faints, there's information on the dog that says, this is what my medical condition is, this is my name, this is what needs to happen, and all of those types of things.
Don't touch them.
Yes.
Ever.
Ever. There are also mobility assistant dogs. So this is for people with physical disabilities or mobility issues. And these dogs can help them perform everyday tasks like retrieving objects, pressing buttons, turning on light switches. Some bigger dogs can actually be fitted with special harnesses that allow their owners to lean on them or brace against them for balance. And some can help with physical transfers for someone that like has to move from a wheelchair to a bed or a wheelchair to a bath. The dog can actually help with that physical transfer, and can even wear a special harness that can help pull a wheelchair, which I thought was incredible. And these are typically dogs that are a lot bigger. So these are, it's listed like Great Danes are a good choice for a service dog for somebody with mobility issues.
I wonder if like a Burmese mountain dog or a Pyrenees or something would be.
I think those are both on my list, actually. And then the last type of service dog is a psychiatric service dog. So these are, they're the service dog version of an emotional support animal. So they still went through the very rigorous training. They are trained to complete specific tasks. And usually it's things like sensing blood pressure changes, heart rate spikes, issues with anxiety. They're often used for like military members that have PTSD really bad. They can get service animals to help with their anxiety and their PTSD episodes. The dog can help alert the owner that, for lack of a better word, that they're being triggered. So they'll notice the body cues that the person is exhibiting before the person might, and alert the owner like, hey, you're about to have a flashback, or you're about to have an episode. You need to get to a safer spot or find somewhere else to be, or remove yourself from this situation. The dog can be trained to like place itself in between the owner and other people to kind of make sure that you always have that personal space bubble. So if you have a lot of social anxiety or you're worried about crowds, the dog can help with that. There is scientific evidence that supports that dogs in general can lower blood pressure and help emotionally. For those with depression or anxiety, sometimes having a service dog is the right option because it gives the owner a purpose, something or someone to take care of. And, I have to get up every day because I have to feed my dog. I have to take my dog out. I have to stay alive because my dog is depending on me to take care of it. the website I was on, or a couple of the websites I was on, also mentioned therapy dogs. They kind of put them in not under like a service dog option because typically they're not trained to complete specific tasks. So you see therapy dogs in like hospitals and schools and even courtrooms now will have therapy dogs that can like sit with victims that have to testify. And they're not technically considered service dogs because they're not completing a task except like, I'm here to provide comfort and be nice to you. But they are definitely working dogs and they provide a lot of support. They can help with the blood pressure lowering and just that comfort of having someone on your side or having something there. I love the idea that they have them in courthouses now, especially for like child victims that have to testify against grown-ups that hurt them. They will have these dogs in the courtroom with them so that they have that support.
I do love that. That's amazing.
Yes. When choosing a service dog, I've mentioned before that they have to pass very rigorous testing and not just things like agility and obedience testing, but also personality testing. So we already talked about some dogs will actually fail because they get through the training and they're either not friendly enough
too friendly,
or they're too friendly so they won't be able to stay focused on the job. But typically dogs should have the following characteristics. They should have a desire to work. So we know that some dog breeds are just better worker dogs than others. Some dogs really want to be lazy and stay at home and sleep on the couch all day. And some dogs need that job. They need to be given tasks and they enjoy working versus being lazy. They should have a calm demeanor. So a dog that is not easily startled or overly hyper or like crazy. They should be intelligent. They have to be able to perform complex tasks. And we all know that sometimes there's just some dumb dogs out there, even if they're wonderful. They have to have a friendly disposition. So they have to be friendly with humans and other animals. And also a loving disposition. They have to be able to form strong bonds because you want a dog that wants to work for its owner and wants to be able to serve its owner. Some of the best breeds for service dogs, according to this United Disability Services, first is Labradors, which I think we expect, along with Golden Retrievers. I think those are probably the two that you see the most as service dogs.
Yeah, definitely.
But also German Shepherds, Poodles, Boxers, which very much surprised me.
Shocking.
Great Danes.
Somewhere to put their energy, I guess.
Right? Great Danes, Border Collies, which makes sense because they're so smart.
And need to work.
Mm-hmm. Bernese Mountain Dogs. And Pomeranians, which just seems astounding to me.
Yep.
And then Portuguese Water Dogs were the top ones.
Wow, what a list.
Right?
Some of those are really shocking.
And just for reference, a service dog typically costs between $10,000 and $50,000 because of all of the training and care that goes into them.
I imagine, I know I'm not trying to slight people, but I imagine if they weren't so expensive, everyone would just be buying them instead of regular dogs. Because
right.
Now I can bring my dog everywhere.
And what? I don't even have to get up to turn my light switches off anymore.
Yeah.
I trained my dog to do that. Just a quote this is from PetMD, one of their websites. In addition to the physical support and safety that they provide, service dogs allow their humans to create deeper connections to their community. So this is not just that service dogs can help people with disabilities like function in their day-to-day lives by helping them with these tasks, but it is also a way to find a way to have less isolation for these people. So, whether it's a conversation starter or just giving them the confidence to go out and interact with the world in a way that they would not normally be able to because they don't have the support and the resources, having a service dog can really open up that door for them. Service dogs are essential companions for the individuals they serve, but when you see a service dog in public, let them do their job.
Don't even ask to
pet
them.
or approach a service dog. Don't ask to pet the dog. Just let it do its job. Any sort of distraction can put the life of the owner or the dog in danger.
That's a big pet peeve of mine. One, I think it's fair to always ask if you can pet a dog before you even
100%.
But don't even ask to pet a service dog. It can cause someone's life.
Yes.
I don't care if your little baby precious angel heart wants to pet the puppy.
It is not for petting. It is working.
My kid has been taught from the moment she could think about it that those dogs are working and you don't bother them.
Exactly.
No matter how much you want to pet the puppy. Because
no
trust me,
how cute they are.
If anybody wants to pet the puppy, it's me. Tossed my baby to my husband once to go pet a puppy.
Same. And just to finish up, other types of working dogs or helper dogs. Obviously, we have police dogs, and they can be trained not only to, we always see them as like drug sniffing dogs, but they can also be used to actually chase down and hold suspects, sniff out substances. There are military working dogs, which would be pretty much the same as police dogs. They can be used as detectors, trackers, sentries, and scouts. They can take part in search and rescue missions. I thought this was crazy and awesome, there are detection dogs, which we know there are bomb sniffing dogs, but there are also dogs that can sniff out illegal drugs, explosive, blood, and even human remains.
Yeah.
And I forgot to include this in my medical service dogs. Some dogs have been trained to detect cancer.
Yeah.
So they can actually sniff out cancer. I already talked about blood sugar levels and certain type of insects. So they can teach dogs, train dogs to like search out bed bugs in places, or even animal feces, so like rodents and things like that.
I guess that makes sense because you can take dogs truffle hunting.
Yeah.
I think they say dogs are better than, I might have this backwards. I think they say dogs are better than pigs because the dogs won't eat the truffles and the pigs will, or it's opposite where the dogs will eat the truffles and the pigs won't. But it seems unlikely because pigs eat everything.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the dogs sniff out the truffles. There are search and rescue dogs, which we obviously know that they can search for like people that were buried in an avalanche or who are lost in the woods or on a trail or something like that. Cadaver locations. There are herding dogs that work on farms and they take care of sheep and different types of animals. Guard dogs, obviously, and livestock dogs, which would be similar to farm dogs. In conclusion, we don't deserve dogs. We are so lucky to have them.
I love it. I wish you'd had some stories, but also I'm glad you don't because I would have cried.
Well, and that's almost the direction I went. I was like, I'm just going to do a whole bunch of stories of cute dogs, but I didn't want to cry. And I knew you had covered quite a few of them in some of our earlier episodes. And I wasn't completely sure I wouldn't
just weep the whole time.
Yes,
because I would.
And then we'd just be sitting here telling cute dog stories and crying for hours.
I actually did want to train one of my dogs to be a visitor to like nursing homes and stuff. I still hold that she would have been amazing at it. She's just a very chill, relaxed dog. She doesn't jump on people. But COVID happened, so we never got the rigorous training that she would have had to go through.
And you have to start it so early.
So, question, do they have PCOS sensing dogs?
I bet they could. You'll have to tell me more about what happens during PCOS so I can determine if there is a thing to track.
for dogs. Yeah, absolutely.
A task to
really
be trained.
Smooth. We did good.
We're getting great at
You're
transitions.
You're not going to believe this, but I'm going to talk about PCOS.
What?
And I know that this is a topic that, one, if you don't have it, you're probably like, oh my gosh, Jessica, stop talking about PCOS. We're done. Or if you are a man, you're probably like, really? You're going to talk about literally something with the word ovary in it? And I am. And if you are a guy and you can stick around, these are some really good things to know in case a woman in your life is dealing with this or will ever deal with it. If you have a daughter, if you have a mother, an aunt, a sister, a friend, a wife, a girlfriend. I mean, fill in the blank.
A podcast co-host.
Yeah, exactly. So I was finally diagnosed with PCOS. Bree's been telling me I have it since I was, I don't know, like 25.
Approximately. Since approximately the time I worked in an OB-GYN office.
around then. So PCOS is called polycystic ovary syndrome. It's not even the right word.
Leviosa.
Leviosa, not Leviosa. Polycystic ovary syndrome. We'll get there. It is a chronic illness, or they call it chronic condition or chronic illness, which took me off guard when I read that. I mean, duh. But at the same time,
You're like, I don't have a chronic illness.
Yeah.
I just feel miserable all the time.
But it did. It took me off guard because this is just something I've dealt with. And I think PCOS is so trivialized. Because it's just something that messes up your periods.
It's just a woman problem.
And so reading that made me rethink my whole process on PCOS. So just an interesting thing there. This is probably about as medically deep as I'm going to get, and I'm going to explain what PCOS is in medical terms, and then I'm going to go on to explain what PCOS is to all of us who are experiencing PCOS.
What it actually is like.
Exactly. And I am going to quote this directly from somewhere. I don't remember where, so I'm quoting
actually
this.
Made all this up. And
if I quoted it from you, thank you, tell me, and I'll credit you. With PCOS, many small sacs of fluid develop along the outer edge of the ovary. These are called cysts. Small fluid-filled cysts contain immature eggs. These are called follicles. The follicles fail to regularly release eggs. Simple as that. I mean...
Sounds like no big deal.
Totally easy.
Yeah.
Except
PCOS
is stupid. There is a huge list of symptoms, but there are 3 big symptoms, and as my doctor said to me, they use 2 of these. If you have 2 of these, you're pretty much going to fall into a PCOS diagnosis unless you have something else like endometriosis, which might mimic these symptoms or sort of parallel run with them, which okay. I don't have the comparison of PCOS to endometriosis, so I don't.
So don't ask any questions.
Exactly.
We don't know anything about endometriosis.
We know nothing. So your first symptom, that is a big symptom, is irregular periods. Having few menstrual periods or having periods that aren't regular are a big sign of PCOS. I've had, not to just get too personal, but I've all my life missed periods constantly. I think I've gone as long as 6 months to a year without experiencing a period that year. I have also,
which sounds amazing, except for all of the other stuff.
Exactly. It would be an incredible perk of it if you could actually survive that way.
And if you hadn't been in like prime childbearing ages, where instead of being like, yay, no period, it was like, oh no, why am I not having a period?
Exactly. So my doctor told me that is more common and more likely to get you diagnosed with PCOS than having something that's too long, having a very long period, which is the only reason I ended up telling my doctor about it in the first place, because I had way too long of a period. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm dying.
This sucks.
Not to overreact, but I'm pretty sure I'm already dead. So
I'm dying for a really long time.
Exactly.
So that's the only option left.
Exactly. So, TMI, I get it. This whole episode is going to be TMI about me. Deal with it.
I'm here for it.
I appreciate it. You've been living this for the last, 40 years? Almost 40 years.
Pretty much.
So, for example, you might have fewer than 9 periods a year, and they might occur more than 35 days apart. The other 2 are too much androgen, and high levels of the hormone androgen might result in excess facial or body hair called hirsutism. Thank you. You're nodding like I said that correctly. I appreciate it. I should have made you read through this. Be like, you say this word like this. You could put it out phonetically for me.
There we go. Next time.
Sometimes it can include severe acne or male pattern baldness. It can also be like extra chin hair or like
mustache hair.
Yes, as a woman, thicker like mustache hair.
Or like chest hair.
Yes, yeah. Really, really thick hair on your arms. Like, Or you can have polycystic ovaries, which means your ovaries could be bigger and contain those follicles with the sacs with the eggs, and basically you're a little bit broken. Sometimes those cysts burst and it hurts like a mofo.
Mm-hmm.
Sucks.
Especially if there's multiples of them.
So those are the 3 big ones. I know that it's very exciting, but they suck.
But they're awful.
Some of these smaller symptoms, and I have a big list here, and I'm going to kind of just sprout them out, and then I will talk about my story, which I'm sure that's why you're all here. It's here about me.
It is.
That's why you came over today.
Exactly. I was like, I really hope Jessica tells me all about her PCOS too.
This is going to be the best.
So, been waiting for this forever.
Exactly. I mean, you should feel like vindicated finally that I actually did something.
It'll be, I mean,
you're like, yes, she does. I was right.
I am glad you finally went to the doctor so I can prove that I knew what I was talking about.
So some of the small symptoms that add up to things that don't feel very small are missed or irregular periods, as we mentioned before. They can also make your periods that you finally do have much more painful, with increased blood flow or pains in other areas of your body. Headaches, bowel issues, extra body hair, which we kind of mentioned, weight gain, especially around your belly, acne and oily skin, baldness or thinning of hair, small patches of extra skin, like you'll get skin tags in different areas of your body, dark or thick skin patches on your neck or armpits or right underneath your breasts, exhaustion, so much exhaustion.
The exhaustion.
Every time, all the time exhaustion, infertility, diabetes or increasing your risk of having diabetes, miscarriage or premature birth, liver damage can be caused by this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. Sorry.
It's just bad periods, Jessica.
Exactly.
What are you complaining about?
It can cause different kinds of blood sugar and blood diseases. It can lead to those. Type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, sleep apnea, depression, and can increase your risk of getting cancer.
Sorry.
Cancer in your ute.
Ute cancer.
Ute cancer. It's not funny. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing about that. I'm just dumb and can't word. It's literally in front of my face.
We needed a reason to laugh. Okay?
Exactly. PCOS sucks.
I was like, oh, you have all of those things. Damn it.
Exactly.
Except for the ute cancer.
So far, so good on that. I also don't have diabetes or pre-diabetes.
True.
Yet. But I want to tell my story. I'm going to shorten it up. But my whole life, since I was a teenager, I have been the friend who sleeps. I've been the friend or the family member.
She is not kidding, you guys.
No, and not exaggerating. Like, people laugh and joke that teenagers, all they do is sleep. No, guys.
That's all Jessica did.
That's all I wanted to do.
Unless I could drag her out of the house.
Yeah. I would come home from school, and if it was sunny outside, I would lay down on my front porch and sleep because it was nice and warm in the sun. Then I would get up and eat dinner and go back to bed. Maybe do homework. Maybe call you.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
To gossip for a while. Maybe read a book here and there. But I slept so much more than most people did our age. And it was kind of the joke. Like, haha, Jessica sleeps all the time. I would go to the doctor. It's going to be a lot of this doctor stuff here. I would go to the doctor and he would tell me, well, you drink too much Mountain Dew. You really need to cut back on your Mountain Dew intake and get some sleep.
Because caffeine makes you tired.
Exactly. And so as I grew and I did gain weight, that was one of the symptoms of PCOS, and I did pretty drastically as I grew. And then the doctor went from Mountain Dew to, you need to lose weight. You're just not active enough. And I would say, but I'm so tired. I can't be active. I can't get up and go running. I mean, I still don't go running, but
nobody does.
No,
nobody wants to.
They're
do
lying.
That.
But I can't. You don't understand. And it was, well, we're all tired, really. Direct quote from my doctor.
Cool. Please give me my copay back then.
Exactly. That was a big symptom, and it's gone on for my whole life. Everyone's just kind of laughed at it. I mean, even me. I'm like, yeah, I like sleeping.
That's
okay,
what
bye.
I'm
going to go sleep.
Get out of my house. Thanks.
The other thing is when I started having my periods, as I said, didn't have them all the time. They were very irregular.
And you were older when you did finally start, weren't you?
I want to say like 14, 15, so a little bit older than maybe some of our age
than me.
Group.
Lucky
you.
you.
Yeah, for real.
Jerk.
But I don't know if it helps. I got PCOS, so. But when I did have them, they were very painful. I remember in middle school bleeding through my pants and my pad onto a chair, and you guys backed me up and lied to friends of the boys about it.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that would happen. I did not ever mention weird periods at the doctor's office, and part of that was because anytime you did, it was, oh, go pee in a cup, you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I was a virgin and still scared they were going to tell me I was pregnant. And I knew that I couldn't be. And it wasn't that I was scared that I was, because I was still virgin.
Right.
But I didn't like how that made me feel.
Yeah.
And so I was scared to tell the doctor. So I would make up as a woman, whenever you go into the doctor, they ask you when your last cycle was, or ended, or started, or something, whatever they ask.
Jessica doesn't know, because she's just been
I always lied. I just made up a date. Exactly.
It is the first day that they're asking for.
Exactly. Is it? Okay. Yeah. First day of your last period.
Yes.
So I knew that, obviously. But I would straight out lie. If I hadn't had one in 3 months, I would straight out lie. Because I was terrified that they were going to accuse me of being pregnant at 16 when I was not sexually active.
Right.
Had not ever been.
And it's hard as a teenage girl. Like, we're in our 30s, almost 40 now, and it's still uncomfortable to talk about periods and stuff like that. And being 16, I was still too embarrassed to buy my own pads at the grocery store.
Yes.
Like, much less go to my doctor and ask them questions about it.
When we were young, if you brought it up at like lunch, the boys would literally get up and run away from the table. Yep. Like, joking, kind of. But it was so stigmatized. Mm-hmm. I was so scared. So I never mentioned it. And that continued on.
Just lied.
Into my 30s.
Oh.
Well, maybe, I don't know if I stopped it. Probably in my mid-20s. Basically, once I got pregnant, all bets were off.
Right. Let me tell you all the gory details.
Exactly. So that's a big one. I gained weight consistently. Especially since COVID, weirdly enough, barely eat anything in a meal. I will sit down. I cannot even get through a hamburger most of the time. A hamburger and a handful of fries, and I'm like crying. I'm so full. But I'm still gaining weight. Really weird. Really annoying. I'd have really short bouts of luck with exercise and then immediately gain it all back. And I had to work twice as hard. I'm not trying to make myself sound sad or pathetic or whatever, make you feel sorry for me, but I had to work twice as hard as everyone else for half of the results. Mm-hmm. So then I could eat. Okay, so I didn't eat much, but I could eat all of the sugar. I remember
You've always been able to.
So much. All the candy, all the cake, all the cupcakes.
Swiss cake rolls and Mountain Dew for the win.
Absolutely. And I could eat sit down and eat a box of Swiss cake rolls. Mm-hmm. I'd be stuffed. I'd want to puke. But I could, because my body never said, no, too much sugar. We got to stop.
Whereas I'd be next to you having one Mountain Dew and be like, oh, it's too much sugar. I feel like I'm going to puke.
Right.
So uncomfortable. Please give me some carrots.
It was always carrots or potato chips.
Yep.
Which weren't healthy.
Because they don't have sugar in them.
Salt.
Salt for your pots.
I still love pepperoni.
Yeah. The amount of salt I have always eaten my entire life.
Makes so much sense now. When I finally switched from a male doctor, not saying it's because he was a male, but it probably didn't help, and to a female doctor, and I finally told her, I'm so tired all the time. She finally said, let's do a sleep study. And I was diagnosed with mild sleep apnea. Tried to tried the stuff. They always try to make you try a machine. Mm-hmm. Tried it. Hated it so much. It was expensive. It was difficult. And I would rip it off my face and hand it to Ryan in the middle of the night.
I got this for you.
You'll fix this. Then went to an ear, nose, throat specialist to see if they could help me with the CPAP machine and all the things. Never helped. Finally, I got diagnosed. I switched doctor. Oh, no, rewind. So I went back to this female doctor when I started having a weird period. It was a very long period, a lot longer than it was supposed to be. Finally said, I think I have PCOS. And her exact response to me was, you might, but there's really nothing we can do about that. And don't get me wrong, I don't know if she meant in that exact moment. I don't know if she meant ever. But she was also the same doctor who told me everyone my age wants to have ADHD.
Oh, that's right.
Which, no.
She's great. Love her.
So I think I went home and cried that day. And this was fairly recent, to be honest.
Within the last year.
Few years, yeah. And told Ryan what happened, who was furious. And we decided I was going to switch doctors. Switched. Ryan came with me to the new doctor because he was going to vouch for me that I don't eat much and that I have these issues, and to basically take her seriously. He was there advocating for me, and we went in and I explained to the doctor what had happened, and she said, okay, let's get you an OB appointment. Right now, let's get you an appointment. And she did, and I was diagnosed, and here we are. So
yay for doctors that listen.
Oh my gosh.
Even if you have to bring your husband to make them listen. Right. That's what worked for me.
Yep, I remember.
Zach came with me to the ER.
Yep.
And was like, no, you guys, something's wrong with my wife. This is not my wife. Figure it out.
It's so frustrating. Okay. So anyways, on my notes, I put, but why?
But why?
Why does PCOS? And no one knows. Literally, that is the answer. No one knows why PCOS.
Bodies just hate us.
Yep. Then I put, what do? Why PCOS? Don't know. What do?
What do?
So for me, the answer was going back on birth control, which scared me because it can help you to gain weight, and I already had trouble with that. And metformin, which turns out is magical. Not at first. Metformin makes you poop yourself. Not actually, but...
Well, it could.
Seriously. On the Reddit sub, there was a lady who was talking about she was walking home from work and it hit and she didn't make it home. Which was funny because it wasn't me.
Think of that scene from Bridesmaids.
Yes, exactly.
It's just like that.
It wasn't bad food. It's just this pill. But I started taking metformin. It was rough. It's a rough few weeks. It changed the way food tastes to me.
Ooh.
It changed the way sugar tastes to me. I can no longer eat sugar like I could. Metformin specifically helps your blood sugar. It helps regulate the sugars you're bringing into your body. When I started taking these two medications, I have lost 25 pounds by not changing my lifestyle. I haven't started jogging, obviously.
Because again, no one wants to do that.
Exactly. I haven't truly changed my diet that much, aside from that I can't eat as much junk food, or some of the greasy foods don't sit as well when you're on the metformin until you've been on it a while. Now grease food's fine. But you can fix it with the diet changes. You can fix it with metformin. There's other medications you can take. You can take medication that will help with your hair growth. You can take medication that will help with energy. I don't have any of that yet. I still don't have energy, but I don't have any of the medicine to help energy either. You can eat protein, lots and lots and lots of protein. They love protein for people like this.
Interesting.
And one of the things I really wanted to say was just advocate for yourself. Don't help your daughters, help your baby sisters, whatever.
Your friends.
Be confident to speak to the doctor. No one should be scared to tell the doctor they've been missing periods because they don't want to be accused of being pregnant when they're not sexually active. They don't believe you when you tell them that.
Right.
I'm almost 40, and I will tell them that, and they still will not believe me. Not that I'm not sexually active, but that there's no chance. Look, we've got a lot of Baldur's Gate to cover.
There's no time for anything else.
No time for romance in life. You have to romance in the game. You do have sex.
I have to go get that bisexual vampire, okay?
Look, if anybody is listening and you play Baldur's Gate, you know about Astarion. But advocate for them and help them to understand it is not shameful, and that the doctors are just, it's not nice. I say the doctors are just idiots, but they're not. They're just lied to very often by scared young girls who don't understand. One thing I thought was really cool from a former coworker was that she said when she brought her children to the doctor when they were young, she made the doctor explain everything they were doing. So if they were bringing in a flu shot, she made them explain what the flu shot was and what it was going to do for them and how. She saved her son's life by doing that when he was in the hospital because they medicated him with something. Then they came in with another dose because someone hadn't charted it properly.
Oh.
And she said, no, my kid just got that. Go talk to so-and-so nurse. Don't give them that. You will not give that. I do not give you permission. You don't touch him. And the nurse was furious with her, but left the room, and the other nurse came back in and apologized.
Jeez.
She saved her kid's life. Just really quick, something that's some good news about PCOS, because this has all been pretty much kind of sad, or like, I feel like I've been like, how much
your life will suck.
I'm fixing my medication. I'm not, I swear. But good news, it can be treated, it can be helped. I am living proof of that. I keep thinking back to what if I had just let that doctor brush me off, and getting mad that no one ever recognized that I was oversleeping too much and having these other issues. And part of it was because I was so embarrassed or scared that they were going to make an assumption about me. Which now I'm kind of like, duh. But at the same time, it went up.
Jessica.
Yeah, exactly. 16-year-old Jessica, just do it. You're fine.
So what if they think you're pregnant? You're obviously not.
Exactly. Could have really changed my life. But treatment means less health risk. I'm so much less likely now that my sugars are being controlled to develop diabetes. I will be healthier for what I am doing now. I already am. I am 25 pounds healthier than I was before.
That's a big deal.
That's a big number. That's significant weight. And it also, one big misconception is that it means you cannot have children. I am living proof you can have children. But it doesn't mean you can't have children. I know that's so hard to hear if you're not ready. I mean, if your dream is to have children and you hear you have PCOS, don't give up hope.
Well, and on the other side, if you're told you have PCOS and you think you can't have children, so you choose not to use protection,
yes, that's
you could still have a baby.
Oh, yeah.
That is not a guaranteed birth control.
Yes, that is a beautiful point that I had not thought of at all. So, advocate for yourself, advocate for the people you love, keep an eye on them.
And honestly, talk about women's health care.
Oh my gosh.
These are topics that we avoid because they're seen as gross or impolite to talk about in mixed company. But so many women are suffering for years because they don't realize that what they're going through is abnormal.
And how many penis jokes do people make in mixed company?
Right.
I'm sorry, but talking about my PCOS is way more interesting to me than talking about penis jokes.
And what could have changed in your life if you had these if we had been able to have these conversations in high school?
Yeah.
About what's normal and what's not normal, and what feelings are normal and what feelings aren't normal, and how heavy our flow is, and all of those things. But no, we're like given a talk in 4th grade, and it's in private, and we're basically led to believe that we're gross and shameful.
They shut the door and they play white noise so that no one else will hear.
Boys don't have to hear the word period.
And just don't make pregnancy jokes. When your friend tells you they have an upset tummy, don't say, "Oh, are you pregnant?" If you see someone who's not drinking alcohol at a party, don't ask. Pregnant? Leave them alone. It's so
you look
annoying.
like you gained a little bit of weight.
Are you pregnant? No, just stop, because that's adding to the fear and concern and
lack of health care. I didn't go to the doctor because I didn't think this was abnormal. I thought I was just possibly pregnant. Or
I was terrified.
I was just glad I wasn't pregnant.
I didn't want the doctors to make assumptions, which is so stupid. Mm-hmm. But it's what I thought. I was scared. I was a teenager.
Being a teenage girl is the worst.
Annoying. Yeah.
And then not feeling comfortable with your body and not feeling like you have anybody you can talk to about it. It's just insane to me.
I was also going to note the doctor who had told me, everyone wants to have ADHD.
There's nothing we can do for your PCOS.
It's okay to leave. It's okay to find someone new. It might seem scary. It might be hard. It
is a pain in the butt to change doctors.
Yes,
and it's hard if the place you live doesn't have a lot of doctors that are accepting new patients, or if you have insurance issues. But try to find a doctor that listens to you.
It's worth it.
Can change your whole world.
I won't let my kid go back to that doctor because I will not let her have that happen to her.
Especially as a girl.
Yes. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work for me. It's a no from me, dog. So that's my very odd topic. Nobody died or nobody's ovaries got stolen mysteriously.
No, I think it sounds like a truly heinous, awful thing.
It is my scariest topic so far.
Yeah.
Except maybe Jeff.
Dude, I still think about that sometimes.
Gosh. Sorry? Am I, though?
No. You're not.
No.
You never are.
He's terrifying.
He is terrifying.
I hate and love him. All right. So anyway, would you like to start? Because I always feel like I start.
This has been Dungeons and Dopamine Podcast.
You can listen to us anywhere you stream podcasts and or on YouTube. And on YouTube. Also on YouTube. YouTube. You can also support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/dungeonsdopamine. You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Reddit, Twitter, Insta, and Reddit.
Whatever social media still exists at this time. And YouTube. You can reach out to us on any of those social medias or YouTube. And also at dungeonsdopamine@yahoo.com.
Exactly. We're Dungeons and Dopamine Podcast is edited and published by Argyle Pigeon Productions.
That's all. All right. Thanks.
Bye.
I love you. Bye.